Hello everyone and welcome to the 4th episode of Southeast Kingsland. It's been a while since I've uploaded a video. I've been fairly busy lately with other things. I don't only play City Skylines, I play other games. But yeah, it's good to be back into cities. I'm building on this town. It is based off Byron Bay, but I'm calling it Tyrone Bay. A bit of a Easter egg there if you can figure it out. But yeah, as you can see, I'm placing down some very Australian looking buildings. The one that's on the corner of that roundabout is based off a real life building. It's a pub called The Balcony, and as you can see earlier on from the building that I've placed down, it's got that same sort of balcony. So you'll see a fair few shots of that during the cinematic, because that roundabout is the main roundabout of the town where everyone drives into, and then the Balcony Hotel is very iconic. That other item that I just placed in there in the middle, the 4-story building, is also based off. So there is a hostel in the centre of Byron, which is a place that I've stayed at a few times. I've had many of drunken nights there. It's been a great time. And that building is also found in the asset shop by Trist 142222, and it's the Exford Hotel. So that's a really good asset to use if you want a sort of 1960s looking building. You know, the building looks like it's built from that sort of era. So the main street, as you can see, is diagonal parking, which you see a lot in Australia because we have lots of land to use, so we end up using wide roads. Yeah, it just provides ease of access for parking. People can go straight in and reverse straight out. I had a few issues where the parking was, cars that were driving into the park were raised up, they were floating. So I found out that that was just because of the level that the car parks were placed on. So I ended up just placing down my own cars for most of them, and there still is some car parks that have the normal car park spots. So as you can see here, I am building an open area, and there's a primary school and a high school next to each other, and I'm building a custom car park for both of the schools that both schools can use. So yeah, and if you have a look at Byron Bay, in the centre of the town is the school. What I want to do here is build the town sort of around the centre of the town, the commercial area, and then on the edge of the commercial area is the school, and then around the school is all the suburbs. And yeah, a lot of schools in Australia, they just have the bus lanes as well. So I ended up just making a bus taxi lane here, which I think looks absolutely amazing. It looks so good and it suits the build to a T. So yeah, and it's really good to see that lots of people and cars are moving around in the town. That is so awesome to see that people are actually moving in. After this, before I finish up the high school, I want to put in more houses because I need more population. I was starting to get notifications for the commercial part of town saying that it needed workers, so I just started placing in houses very, very soon. So I end up putting that in, and yeah, you'll see that a lot of Australian styled houses, and in Byron Bay there's a mix between old houses and new houses. So that is just something that you notice all throughout Australia. If you look at Byron Bay and on Google Earth, you'll see that there's some modern, really, really rich houses, and then there's some really poor old houses, and there's some really rich old houses. So it's quite a mixed bag if you have a look at it, which is really interesting to build. Something that I want to improve on is like with the fencing of the houses. So I built the houses first, but when I'm going for a more modern suburb, I feel like that I'm going to build all the fences first, which sort of signifies the allocated lots, and then you can put the houses in. Here I'm creating a custom soccer field. I ended up just using lines on the grass and just a soccer goal asset, and yeah, I think that came out really good, because most of the time with a school soccer field, it's not going to be the most professional looking field, is it? So yeah, that was something that I'm really, really proud of, just making that, just using lines and a soccer goal asset. Here I am deciding what to do in this corner. So in this little corner, I didn't want the school to go all the way out there, but then you'll notice in a lot of places in Australia and around the world is you'll just have little modern housing estates where they make them really compact and they fit in as many houses as they can into a tiny area. And it's sort of like a gated community where all the houses are the same. They're managed by someone in particular. A lot higher density as well, because all the houses are just right next to each other, on top of each other. You do get the privacy of being in a gated community, but you don't get to live far away from your neighbours. You're almost on top of each other, so that's something that you also spot quite a lot in Australia. Here I am back at the hostel that I was talking about, which is in the centre of town. So I'm basing it off the real life hostel. I forget the name of it. I haven't been there in years. But yeah, it's in the centre of town and there's a pool on top and a spa. So I end up just placing down some assets and some people assets hanging around the pool. And I think that looks really, really good. And now we're just putting some foliage around the area, which absolutely makes the build of the town just pop to what it actually is. You see the trees and then you see everything. It makes it feel like that this was a natural environment and it was just torn down to build these houses in commercial areas, but there are areas where they've tried to keep nature there. So for example, the roundabouts end up putting in palm trees and stuff in the middle. Something else in Byron as well, they have a lot of awnings over the walkways, and that is in a lot of places in Australia, and it is for two reasons: one, rain, and then the other one, the sun. The sun is that hot in Australia during summer that you do not want to be walking out in the sun. So awnings over popular areas on the sidewalks, it's just something that you see in Australian commercial areas. Here is the beach hotel. So I just was building on that real quickly. Has an outdoor area and a beer garden. So that's a really, really nice place for people to go and have a drink. And it does live music as well. So live music there. This is obviously based off real places, but then a few things have been changed. But that beach hotel is very, very similar to the real place, so the beach hotel of Byron. Now here I'm just working on the beach, and on every major popular beach in Australia, you'll notice that they'll have these lifeguard towers, these yellow towers. So what I ended up doing here is just ended up getting a watchguard tower, and then I placed a yellow tent on top, which makes it look pretty much the same as all the lifeguard towers in Australia. So I'm gonna be using that a fair bit, which is the good thing about procedural objects. And I could make it a bit larger and move it as well to be able to place that tent on top of the watchtower to give it that signature look of a Australian surf lifesaving tower. And it backs onto the surf lifesaving club, as you can see just before. And here now I'm just working on the parkland that's along the beach. So along the beaches in Australia, a lot of people like to go visit it. And so there's just a parkland along here where people can visit. I also came across the thought that the soccer goals, the ball would go over the fence all the time and you don't want kids running across the road. So here there's just a soccer net to stop the ball from going over. Something that I need to get as well is rugby league posts and AFL posts. I could just use poles for AFL posts, but I'll look for rugby league posts and then see if I can place them as well, because there are a lot of rugby league fields, especially in this area of the world. And AFL, I can just use normal posts. For those of you that are watching and listening, if you are interested, subscribe to me. I have about 95% of people who watch my videos do not subscribe to me. So if you do like what you see and hear, then by all means subscribe. It's free. It helps me out a ton. As you can see just then, I placed down some tents because there is a small homeless community that live around Byron, and it's very realistic making those low socio-economical areas. It is a realistic thing. As sad as it is, that is something that you'll notice in cities and towns, and I'm replicating that here. Also in Australia, near popular beaches, they protect the sand dunes by placing fences around them so people don't walk over the top of them or destroy them. And finally here, we're placing down some assets of people swimming, which looks really, really good, especially on the cinematics going over the water. And just putting in some final touches here. So if there's anything on here that you've noticed and you think that I could improve or make better, please let me know in the comments. That'd be absolutely awesome. And now onto the cinematics. Thank you very much. Bye.